Oh, alright, hey YouTube. He's a totally unprofessional mechanic who's got the Cobalt start problem. Our problem was we put a new starter in, it started for a couple of seconds and then it just wouldn't start anymore, and we had a no start problem before, no run problem. It started and it just revved a couple of rounds and stalled, and eventually it ran, and then it got worse and worse and worse, and we put the new starter in and zero. No, we had no juice on the ignition wire. So it's not, no, it's this fuse gone, or this fuse gone, or this switch or that switch. We're talking about the ignition wire that goes in the back of the starter, which is down there. So I guess by the time you get to our video, you saw all the other ones, how to bridge the starter and see if it runs and not runs, you know, and what have you. So, and I always hear it's the ground, it's the ground. Okay, we have ground everywhere. Everything you measure, we have ground. And then we switched this relay, where we have this one, oh, right here. This was in here, which is the 2752, and this one here 2752. So we switched them over, we switched these two over. Nothing really worked. So when we pulled this out, we discovered there's some corrosion in here. Long story short, we drained the battery, we jump started it, we charged the battery, we tried this, we tried that, we tapped into the ignition wire with an additional wire and measured the ohm simply by using this like $15 device. You put it on ohm. So if your wire is good, you have a reading. So here, there's one, here's the other. Okay, this wire is good, obviously. So, and we could not get any juice down to this ignition wire, which should actually be positive. So ends up after, what, how many hours altogether? 5-6 hours of pulling our hair. We discovered, measuring all these through here, going positive to ground, positive to ground, positive to ground. We have juice everywhere, and this then is ground. So we switch, we go ground to positive, and we had zero reading, so no ground most likely. We pulled this whole thing out, we went nuts over it. Okay, no ground. Then we bridged this missing ground, one wire here on a good ground, or any good ground. We put a couple of fibers in here, put this relay back in, and boom, the car started and ran on the first crank. No problems, no hiccups. So we took this whole thing out, we looked underneath. So we found that there's a little black and white wire here, little black and white wire tucked underneath there, which is the ground. So we opened this all up and we followed it all the way through, going down here, and you have two ground connectors on this screw down here. So this one here, this would be the other one on top. So we took this out, and here's there's actually 4 black and white ground wires, but we could follow ours all the way down here, and this down here is so corroded that we actually did we use one of these babies here?
No, we use this one.
Yeah. So here, this is probably visible. This particular one is the ground wire for the starter crank relay, or run crank relay. Is it the run crank?
Just crank.
Just crank relay. And as you can see, there's hardly any fibers left on it, barely making any contact. Even having this in my hand, we hardly could actually get a reading. But when we got a reading, we got like 13 volts, which is awesome. So battery is good. And this is your starter problem. If you have if you have a new starter and you can bridge this, it cranks, but you have no ignition, or you most likely have no positive power or plus on the actual ignition wire. And this is because your relay doesn't work, because you're missing the ground. That's it. And then that's your solution. That was our solution. Might not be yours. Thanks for watching.